What happened to me has forced me to completely revise my view on my life and how this world is ordered. I think it could happen to anyone. There's nothing you can or should do. It doesn't make sense. Just hope. I wrote down everything they said as soon as I got out because I was afraid I wouldn't remember some of it if I waited. I James Comey'd them, you could say. So every bit of dialogue I write here is something that came out of their mouths. Remember that. A hot summer day, I was stepping out my front door to run for milk. 2 men in suits were standing on my front step. One was white, bald, probably in his 30s. The other was an older black man with ear hair. I remember because it waggled in the wind. These guys, I know nobody knocked. So how long were they just standing there? "What are you doing on my porch?" I asked. "Sir, we need you to come in for questioning," the black one said. They showed me some NSA badges. I wouldn't have known a real NSA badge from a fake one. I asked them if I could write down the badge numbers. Instead, they let me take pictures of their badges with my phone. "What am I being questioned about?" I asked. "Sir," said the white one, "you must realize when we said we want you to come in for questioning, we mean our associates will ask you questions, not that you will ask us questions. We can't answer your questions. We can't answer any questions." "We can make a statement of fact," the other said, stepping so close to me I could smell his aftershave. "A fact like, my suit is black, has a deeper meaning. If you understand how color is just how our brain perceives light, it's still a fact. So what I can say is that there is an investigation." "Into what?" I ask, going over everything I've done over the past days, weeks, months in my mind. Anything that could make me look like a terrorist. I have a vaguely ethnic look. It's Native American mixed with Italian, but I've been mistaken for Middle Eastern. Stupid thoughts like that. "Sir, I just explained to you how questioning works," the white one said. "This will go a lot faster if you accept the fact that there is an investigation," the black one said. "I do, but don't I have a right to know what it is?" Please stop using interrogative phrasing," said the black one, cringing like there was horrible feedback coming from my head. "There is an investigation. Your questioning is required for at least a part of this investigation. If you would get in the car, please." I saw that the 2 men were holding hands now. Both their knuckles were pale from squeezing. Their jaw muscles were quivering from clenching their jaws. I'm not an especially brave guy, not an alpha, not assertive. Even if I didn't completely trust them, I didn't know what they would do to me if I provoked them. I got in the back seat of their car. They did the same. They drove downtown to an unremarkable office building. There were plenty of cars out front. They brought me in through the front door. Desk security buzzed us through after confiscating my cell phone. There were other agents, presumably NSA, walking around purposefully. To be honest, it all set me at ease. It felt official, you know? I didn't realize we had NSA presence in this city. They deposited me in an interrogation room without a word. Last time I would ever see those 2. The interrogation room was small, all white, with an aluminum table and an aluminum chair on either side. Fluorescent lighting made the white all the more offensive. The only splash of color was a small, fern-like plant in a vase in the corner. I was in this awful room for at least an hour before someone finally came in. I was getting pretty angry by that point. I mean, if I was so important for their investigation, why not have someone ready to ask me questions? This man with a comb-over and short jaw beard introduced himself as Davis Tashin. He handed me a vest as he walked in. Then he took a seat. "Go ahead," he said. "What's it for?" I asked, putting it on. "You have now been investigated," he said with a chuckle. I guess that passed for NSA humor. I started to take it off, but he said, "Please don't." So I left it. I was still very nervous and I just didn't want to sweat all over his vest. I had just recently quit my job as a database admin for a pay TV company. And one of our customers was Lockheed Martin. Maybe I was being accused of some sort of data theft. That occurred to me then. "I have a small roster of questions I'm going to ask you. Based on these answers, a follow-up roster may need to be assembled ad hoc. The attitude of the answers is as important as the content. Do you drink juice?" He produced a child's juice box from his pocket. He wasn't offering it to me, though. He unwrapped the straw from the wrap, popped it in, and started sipping at the orange concentrate. "You just recently quit your job," he stated. "I did. Why?" "I just didn't want to work there anymore." "That doesn't sound right." "What do you mean?" "You messaged your friend Rich Flores on Facebook that you were finally giving my dream to be a writer a chance. If you didn't have that dream, wouldn't you still be working there?" "I didn't do anything wrong. I just didn't see how it was any of their business or why they'd care." I was starting to sweat and feel cornered over something so stupid. I remembered we did have Lockheed Martin was one of our customers. Maybe that had something to do with it. I guess that's true. I didn't want to work there because I want to be a writer. I really didn't have access to any sensitive information there. I was just the database admin. I'm not sure why it's a national security matter. "Have you ever been published before?" he asked, and started tapping the aluminum desk with this translucent green pen. No, not yet. Fingers crossed." He kept tapping. It was making me nervous. He kept staring right at my eyes. I knew it, even though I was looking at his stupid pen. "Is it a sound decision to quit a decent-paying job to dedicate yourself to a craft you have no previous success in?" "Listen," I said. "It's a dream. It doesn't have to be a sound decision. I'm giving it a shot. This is America, you know." He keeps tapping the pen and staring at me without saying anything. He didn't have anything to write on. He had the pen just to tap. "What can you tell me about your relationship to Mary Beth Daniels?" he asked. While he was speaking, a fly came out of his mouth and landed on his now empty juice box. I stared in horror. He didn't seem to notice. "Mary Beth. I used to date her a year ago." Now I was wondering what she could have done to piss of the NSA. We went our separate ways, but she was a sweet enough girl. She had nothing to do with my job. "That's correct," he said. "What did you mean when you said she was the type of person who was looking for a lapdog and not a man?" "I didn't. We have a series of text messages here where you tell her, you used the possessive incorrectly here, a manipulative bitch. You want a lapdog, not a boyfriend. And later, should have been I won't, sit and play fetch for you." "We were fighting," I said. "I felt manipulated." "So you didn't have any ability to perceive her desires unmediated?" he asked. "I guess not. I mean, we can never really know what's going on in someone's head." He laughed when I said that. It was a weird laugh. Someone laughs like that when they slip something in your drink. It's an unhealthy laugh. "Okay, you inferred that she desired a lapdog. You didn't yourself feel her desire inside of you." "Yeah." "You know she's dead now?" Oh my gosh, my heart sank. I thought of the best of her and how she was a kind person, really, and I could have been nice to her. "She's not really dead." He got up and left the room right after that. I burst out laughing, not because it was funny, but out of exasperation. Tashan had left his juice box behind. I started playing with it unconsciously. I don't know where the fly went, but a woman came into the room, grabbed the box, and left. She was pretty. They left me for another hour or so, I'm sure it was. Now I was really getting upset. I said to the camera in the corner, "I'm pretty sure it's within my right to leave here. You can't hold me against my will." I tried the door handle. It wouldn't budge. And it was really warm, like someone was just holding it on the other side. I kept wiggling it, determined to get some result, when I felt a warm breath on the back of my neck. I felt the adrenaline surge of panic and spun around to see this man standing behind me. There's no way he could have been in the room the whole time. Nowhere he could have come from. "Where'd you come from?" I gasped. "Please, ask no questions. I'm Wes Furzlax," he said, showing me his ID. He was a stocky, Italian-looking man, slicked black hair and a conspicuous mole on his left cheek. His name was actually Wesley Purpleaxe. Didn't sound like a real name either way. "Please, have a seat." He placed a hand on my shoulder and guided me back to the chair. He sat across from me, just as Tashan had done. "Wait," I said. Someone else is already investigating me. I have Fiend invested with the sower to continue questioning. I apologize in advance, he explained. I have truffle with articular plosives. I will sometimes substitute an S, H, or F instead. Please be patient with me. Of course. I have a natural inclination to be congenial and helpful, but something about this guy made me nervous. The way he overstated the word please or fleas. The way his facial expression never changed. The way he looked through me. Thank you, we have taken a look at your ass. We have many questions about what we found in your ass. My mind went through all that had happened. Did they gas me and examine me? Was the gas in that juice box? Maybe that's how he appeared in the room. I personally fingered through your ass, he added. I was careful to leave all intact. Facebook app, Gmail app, all your ass. Apps. The whole thing was a setup. He got me. I think he was doing it on purpose. He may really have trouble with plosives or whatever, but he had to know he was saying ass. I would have found it funny under other circumstances. But he wasn't trying to make me laugh or put me at ease. Just the opposite. I could see it in the way he looked at me from under his brow. Can you explain this fixture? He asked, showing me a photograph of me playing video games with some buddies. I actually remembered the night in question. We drank some beers, played a Resident Evil game, I think. It was completely innocuous. I was starting to get frustrated with this whole investigation because it seemed to be a huge waste of everyone's time. My taxes pay for these a-holes. It's just me playing some video games with friends. I'm sorry, but what does it have to do with national security? Why is it any of your business? Has the questioning Rosas Fiend explained to you? I may say freely, however, that this investigation may go anywhere and we must follow all avenues of investigation. One never knows where it will take one. Right. Just as one never knows what we'll find in their ass, he said under his breath, and he looked at me like he wanted to punch my face in right there. His eyes were so dark and I could see the way they scanned over parts of my face with contempt. You're right. In your ass, I found you do well in many particular matters. Again, he looked at me like he was daring me to laugh. Except now he was raising his voice, getting angrier with each word. What is happening in this video? He played a video of me and some friends doing karaoke in a pub one night. We were all drunk. I know I deleted that video, just because it wasn't that interesting. It didn't even interest us and we were in the video. It's just a night of karaoke with the guys. What's the song in the video? Tub Thumping was a hit back when we were in high school. Tough thumping, he said, and he started to say something about the song. I only caught bits and pieces because the strangest thing happened. That fly appeared again. It landed on his chin. He was saying something about the political significance of the lyrics, but the fly was crawling along his flapping lip. When he stated that Chumbawamba was already a 15-year-old band, I saw that fly go right into his mouth. He didn't seem to notice at all. There were drops of spittle in front of him from his rant about the song. Well, I'm sorry, I said. I was distracted. I need you to apply yourself to this investigation, he said. What about the song after? The video ends with tub thumping. I get knocked down, but I get up again, etc. No, there is more. I'm sure that's where the video ends, I said. I mean, I made it. There is more. The song was my Aussie song. Do you remember? My happy song. I started hearing a dripping sound coming from somewhere. I couldn't tell where because of the acoustics in the room. It made it sound like something was dripping in my head. I wasn't hearing it before. The sound with what he was saying was making me uncomfortable. I remembered the song all right. I'd written it for myself when I was a kid. When I'd feel dejected for whatever reason, I'd sing my happy song and play this little composition on my Casio. It made me feel better. I'd never shared it with anyone. That song was my thing and it was a little embarrassing. Somehow the song turned up on the karaoke machine at this pub. They denied it, but I think my friends must have found it and slipped it in there. It's the only thing that makes sense. I never even recorded it. The whole thing freaked me out. I was already drunk, and that just made the world feel off-kilter and nightmarish. Just that something was wrong. The guys were trying their best to sing along to a song they didn't know, and I saw that they were confused too. They felt it. Nobody was clapping along anymore, like they did with the other songs. They just stood there and watched. My buddy Jeff suggested we get out of there. They watched us leave. The place was reasonably full, but once we walked out, they turned off the lights behind us and hung up a closed sign. We never went back there. I remember, I said. That wasn't on the video. What did you mean in my Aussie song when you say, they watch me in the trees? I don't know. I was a kid. Squirrels or birds, I guess. I don't understand. What does any of this have to do with national security? What is going on? Wesley glared at me like I'd just punched him in the face. I could see his dark cheeks reddening, especially around the mole. He gripped the sides of the table and started screaming. Eyes shut tight, just furiously screaming, "Shut off! Shut off! Shut off!" I couldn't move. I had no idea what he was going to do next. All I could do was sit still. I looked toward the door, hoping someone would come in and help. After a few minutes, maybe it was only seconds, but it felt like minutes, he composed himself, stood up, and left the room, just like that. I realized once he'd left that I'd been holding my breath the whole time. I finally started breathing again. I was nervous about what was coming next, scared I wouldn't get out, or that I'd be killed in this place. There were cameras, people saw me come in. But who watches the cameras? The same people who had me in here. Nobody knew where I was. They left me alone for a while. I was relieved about that. After the last experience, I wanted to be alone, but I wanted to go home. Also, I needed to piss, and I kept hearing that dripping. The pretty woman from earlier came into the room then, grabbed the juice box off the table, and left, slamming the door as she did. I didn't see Wesley have, or leave a juice box. I was sure there was no juice box. She'd picked it up earlier. Another man came in the room, a very tall, broad-shouldered man with short blonde hair. He wore glaucoma glasses, the kind that automatically tint in the light. What happened to... I cut myself off. I realized I was asking a question. I guess I didn't care what happened to the other guys anyway. He sat down, placed a manila folder on the table, looked through its contents some, then eased back in the small metal chair. He didn't bother introducing himself. "I apologize for the wait," he said. "I didn't realize they'd already brought you in." "I've already been questioned by Davis and Wes," I told him. "Who?" "Davis Tashin and Wesley Purpelax. They both asked me some strange questions and left." "Nobody works here by those names," he said. That sent a chill down my spine. I was starting to feel like I did that night, at the karaoke bar. "I'm the only one on questioning today. No one else could have come into this room. Perhaps you fell asleep. Do you know why you're here?" "The investigation," I answered. "Good. I'm glad you were briefed. Do you remember Mr. Alexander?" I hadn't thought of Mr. Alexander in years. It took me a moment to remember. I tried to think if I knew anyone else surnamed Alexander. That was the only one. Yeah, he was this strange old guy who moved into my apartment complex for a bit, when I was a teen. Yes. From June 1997 to August 1999, you lived at the Wellwright Apartments. May 1998, a Mr. Alexander moved into the complex. What can you tell me about Mr. Alexander? So, Mr. Alexander, when he moved in, for starters, he had this whole team of movers. He was dressed in a fancy black suit. The furniture we saw being moved in looked rich and uncomfortable. Neighbors talked to him briefly and gathered he was a successful lawyer and he planned to practice from the apartment. A shiny plaque was mounted, Alexander Law. Only his shoes were shinier than the plaque. We saw him tip the movers with each their own $20. I remember one of the neighbors saying, "He talks so well, he talks money." That doesn't even mean anything, but I got what they were saying. Once he was in and the door was closed, We all started hearing lots of noise coming from his apartment. Every day, banging, smashing sounds, like he was renovating the apartment or something. And that's what everyone thought, that he was just renovating, because he's so well-to-do. After a month of this, the neighbors got frustrated. We'd been noticing this smell in front of that apartment for a while. It wasn't a normal human smell. It was like metal filings and burning. The noise was daily. He never seemed to have a single client. So they sent someone to talk to him. Mr. Alexander wouldn't let him in. The guy noticed his suit had rips and stains over it. Mr. Alexander said something like, "I am having trouble getting it right." I don't remember exactly. Something weird like that. The guy explained why he was there. The next day, Mr. Alexander was gone. That's when we all found out the whole moving in pageantry was just that. The furniture was all piled up in one room. There was no decor on the walls. He had a rotary phone hooked up. It wasn't connected. I'm pretty sure it worked at some point though, because I remember looking through his window once. I saw him and 3 other men in black suits huddled together around the receiver, all trying to listen. Anyway, he was gone, so that was the end of the mystery. Not much, I told the tall guy. He kept to himself. He was strange. He wasn't there long. The man looked through more of the folder's contents. I saw pictures in the folder, pictures of me I'd never seen before, at all different ages. I don't remember any of them being taken. I looked at him, I guess looking for some clue. For a moment I thought he winked, but it was just a trick of the glasses, I think. At last he said, "Do you remember on June 5th, 1998, thinking that Mr. Alexander is a serial killer and maybe not human?" Thinking? No, I mean maybe I thought that. I can't remember what I was thinking on a certain day. We can. You did think it. I was asking if you remembered. We locked eyes through the reddish barrier of his glasses. I tried to think who I talked to about Mr. Alexander. I saw myself reflected red in the glasses, and behind the tiny, distorted mess was the thinly veiled malice. He was drooling slightly. "People remember all sorts of things," he said. "Do you remember there being a plant in this room?" Of course I did. When he said that, I looked in the corner. The plant was gone. There was no plant in the room. "Do we see the plant? We're all in this room. I'm not in this room." I was starting to freak out. It felt like I was losing touch with reality. Maybe they drugged me. I wished they'd just let me go piss. "Do you remember how you felt when your mother died in that car accident?" "He was there, you know." "My mother is still alive. What are you talking about?" "I can only speak in statements of fact and cannot answer questions," he said, putting everything back in the manila envelope. "Factually speaking, I can say what I inquired about hasn't happened yet. It is good that you don't remember it." As he stood up to leave, I saw the plant in the corner of the room. He left without a word. The door stayed open. I sat there for a while, waiting for someone else to come in and ask me more insane questions. Nobody came. I got up, stepped into the corridor. Nobody was there. I saw a cigarette butt still smoking on the floor. "Hello?" I called. I found my way out to where security checked me in. Nobody was there. Even security had vacated. My phone was sitting there at the security desk. I looked around before grabbing it, concerned this may be some sort of trap. I wasn't ambushed or harassed in any way. Nobody was there. I went out the front door, walked to the nearest bus stop, and took the public transport home. Someone told me nice vest. I forgot I was still wearing it. I spent the bus ride wondering, who were those people? What did they want? Why did they know so much about me? When I got home, a 2-liter jug of milk was on my front step, still cold. I've been back to that building. They tell me the space has been for lease for months now. I inquired with various agencies to no avail. The pictures of the badges erased. I have no doubt they've already read this before I even posted it. I didn't feel comfortable showering for the longest time. Still can't enjoy porn. And I've been thinking a lot more about what I'm thinking. Trying to remember what I was thinking. And actually, I did remember something. I remember thinking on that day, after I looked in Mr. Alexander's window, Why did he have a picture of me and my dad framed on his table? It was the only thing on there besides the phone.